welcome to Noons. Here, sleep doesn't come from silence, but from a gentle story. You don't have to fall asleep just yet. Just stay a little longer. Everything will feel lighter soon. You slip into the evening slowly, like a hand easing into a warm pocket. The day has softened its edges, and the light over Bellhollow is dusky and kind, a lavender hour that hushes roofs and quiets chimneys. You step outside and feel the temperature thrum against your skin, cool enough to suggest a shawl, gentle enough to need nothing more than your steady breath. The street is cobblestone and familiar, a friendly path you've walked many nights before, and tonight it seems to welcome you with a quiet nod. A breeze glides along the lane, unhurried, the sort that tastes faintly of moss and sea salt, because the bay is just beyond the square, where the old bell tower keeps time in a patient baritone. The bell won't ring now. This hour belongs to footfalls and whispers, to window light that waits inside little shops, to the lull of a village settling into comfortable sentences. Lanterns hover above doorways round, amber and palazzo. Their glow can rest on the stones and not wake the sky. You turn toward the square and pass the bakery, closed but fragrant, cooling bread that still sighs in its baskets. A cat, silvery and confident, stretches like soft ribbon and blinks at you as if to say that all is well and always has been. Somewhere a kettle clicks, and the sound arrives with the scent of chamomile, a pure straw sweetness that reminds you to slow your mouth and breathe through your nose. When you do, the world arrives in layers. Pine resin from crates by the cooper's shop, beeswax from a drawer of polished candles, paper and dust from the bookbinder, and the clean mineral note of the stone well in the square. You're headed to Moonletter Press, a little letterpress workshop tucked between the stationer and the clock mender. The sign is simple hand-carved initials, a crescent moon resting in the crook of an L, and the glass of the door carries the faint bloom of evening. As you press the latch, you feel the grain of wood smooth under your palm, worn by years of gentle entries like this. Inside, there is a hush that belongs to rooms with purpose. It is not silence as an emptiness, but silence as a fabric, woven, sturdy, softened by time. You stand just within the doorway and let your eyes adjust to the honey light. A brass lamp leans over the main press, a sturdy, iron-boned creature that breathes in oil and breathes out inked sheets with a slow, reassuring rhythm. The counter smells like cotton rag paper clean, almost sweetened. Somewhere on a shelf, a jar of ink waits with its quiet, black promise. You run your fingers along the edge of a composing tray, the wood warm and faintly waxed, and feel the shallow divots where thumbs have rested, where forearms have leaned in comfortable concentration. Good evening, you hear, and you turn to find me smiling from the back room, a soft rag in one hand and a teacup in the other. My voice is low, unhurried, the way someone might speak when they have nowhere else to be and nothing else to prove. I'm glad you came. There's no rush in the way I set the cup down and towel my hands. I gesture toward a stool by the window where the last light of day sits like a small, patient animal, content to be observed. Let's make tonight's goodnight notes, I say, and the phrase lifts lightly into the room like steam from a kettle. You know the goodnight notes because you've helped before. Small, thick cards with a quiet border and a line or two of gentle words, made to be tucked on a bedside table, slipped under a door, or set beside a cooling mug. The action is simple and repeated, which is part of its comfort. There is no drama in typesetting, only presence. There is no surprise in inking, only attention. And there is no conflict in pressing, only a soft meeting of paper and plate. A tender moment of impression you can feel with your fingertips when the card is new and still carries a hint of warmth. I fetch a tin of type small lead letters resting, like calm greyfish in their compartments. We don't speak for a while. That's part of the ritual too. I show you the composing stick, its little fence sliding until it clicks into the width we want. And you watch as I lift letters out of their nests, one by one, mirror backwards and patient. You lean closer, and the air by the window is a little cooler, a gentle ribbon touching your cheek. You can hear the occasional thrum of a page settling in a stack, and the soft, satisfying sound of type meeting type. A tiny kiss of metal that gathers into a line. We lay out the first line together. Rest comes like the tide, neither late nor early, only sure. You read it in reverse, as printers do, trusting your hands to know what your eyes cannot. You balance the letters with hairline spaces that feel like nothing and are everything. Your thumb keeps the line true against the edge of the stick. A breath at the end, a settling, and then I hand you a slender wedge of wood to lock the line, gently. You exhale, and the exhale is a small, private door opening inward. When the form is locked into its little frame, I set it aside while you open the ink tin. The smell is distinctive like wet stone and warm clove, though there is no clove in it. Your mind just decides there should be. You smile, because there is something pleasing about ink that looks like night you can hold. We wake the roller with a few slow passes across the ink disc, a soft, circular hum that would never startle anyone, not even a mouse dozing by the skirting board. The roller's rubber is cool under your fingertips, and as you set it on the press bed, the machine gives a tiny, contented sound, as if grateful to be useful again. Tea? I ask, moving toward the kettle as though it's a small, friendly animal that always comes when called. You nod. The water doesn't boil so much as persuade itself into readiness. I spoon loose petals of linden and a pinch of vanilla into a strainer, and the scent rises like a curtain of gentle warmth. When I hand you the cup, the heat slides through your fingers, and you notice how your shoulders loosen another half-inch, how your jaw forgets its old habits. We don't need to speak about any of this. The room knows. The room has always known. You sit with the cup on your knee and look around, slowly the cabinets of type labeled in neat, faded script, the shallow drawers that whisper when they open, the paper guillotine with its grand handle reposing like an oar. Each tool, each shelf, each square of cloth has a place, because there is no hurry, and a place reveals itself when time is allowed to pass in a friendly way. Outside, the bell tower keeps its vow of quiet, and the bay sends up its mineral breath. On the sill, a small bowl of smooth stones gleams, gathered from a beach that remembers every footstep without keeping any of them. When you're ready, You rise, and we stand together by the press. It's not work so much as a conversation conducted with hands, a series of gestures that never crowd one another. The air is easy, the room is steady. You are simply here, preparing to make something small and kind for the night. We begin with the form small and square, locked and quiet, resting on the bed of the press. You lean in the way one leans toward a sleeping child, alert but relaxed, making adjustments with the pad of your finger. There's a small brush for specks of dust, a soft breath for the rest, and a whiff of oil from the hinge that has known patience for decades. The press isn't new, but it is sincere. It likes even pressure and faithful hands, and you offer both without needing to be asked. You reach for the roller, and I steady the paper, a stack of thick cards that promise a good impression. The first pass is always ceremonious. The ink disc turns, quietly delighted to be useful, and the roller gathers its coat of dark. You move it forward, slow as tidewater, and the texture of rubber on ink makes a sound that is somehow both round and flat, like a fingertip tracing the rim of a calm cup. The scent deepens, not strong, never pushy-inly, a mellow note that makes the evening seem more of itself. We place the first card in the gauge, and you feel the edge kiss the guide pins. The lever's handle waits where your hand expects it, and when you pull, there is a graceful resistance. The press draws breath. It closes with a firm kindness, and the platen meets the fall as the sea meets sand, inevitable, gentle, and complete. You release, and the press exhales. You lift the card carefully by its corner. On its face, the letters lie slightly sunken, each little valley smooth and tidy, holding a sheen that will dull to satin as it dries. You run the back of your knuckle across the words. They speak quietly into your skin. Rest comes like the tide, neither late nor early, only sure. You smile without deciding to. There's comfort in making something that asks nothing but offers much. We place the card on the drying rack, its wooden dowels wearing the fingerprints of many nights, and return to the press with the same simple cheer you might bring to folding a warm blanket. The rhythm begins. Ink, place, press, lift, set. Ink, place, press, lift, set, lift, set. The sequence does not argue or boast, it simply unfolds. Your body starts to learn the exact distance between the roller and the disc, the fraction of a breath you prefer to take before closing the platen, the moment your fingertips know the ink is right by the way it catches light, like a respectful nod. Each repetition is its own small harbor. The mind, grateful, steps aboard and then quietly disembarks, finding there is no need to wander anywhere else. Between pulls, we take slow sips of tea. Linden and vanilla wander through the room and rest in the seams of the floorboards. Outside the window, evening drapes itself a shade deeper, and a neighbor lights a lantern that answers ours with a soft hello. You hear feet in the street, not many, only a pair or two, and the murmur of friendly talk that doesn't require its words to be understood. The cat from earlier sits on the stoop and curls its tail neatly around its paws. The living punctuation of a village that knows how to end a sentence with grace. We set a second form with a different line. Your breath is a shoreline, faithful, to your chest. The letters are cool and slightly dusty. You tilt them to read their reversed faces, the way one might look at stars reflected in a basin, trusting the image to reveal itself when patience is supplied. You wedge the corners gently, and the small wooden coins press with a sound like a distant book closing, a promise kept. We ink again. The roller hums its rounded song. The lever receives your hand, and your shoulder remembers the measure. Each print arrives like a tide mark, delicate and true. Spread across the rack, the cards become a quiet choir. The line spacing is generous, so the words can breathe. The border is the palest grey, a thread you can barely see that reassures the eye without asking for attention. You lay one card against your palm and notice how the weight of the paper persuades your hand to rest. You let it as the stack of unprinted cards thins. You hear the kettle click a second time. I refill the pot from a pitcher that sweats a little in the room's warmth and set it on the hob. A skew of steam rises and loosens the light from the brass lamp, making it shimmer slightly. You drift your fingertips over the neck of the kettle and feel that soft, pearly heater temperature that makes your skin aware that it is here and safe. We don't speak of the day. There is nothing to fix, no ledger to balance. The press keeps time more kindly than any clock. A minute measured by a finished card, an hour by a full rung of the drying rack, a night by the way the body says enough and means enough for now. You notice the way your back lengthens when you stand straight to reach for the highest rung, the way your elbows feel smooth and useful, the way your breath chooses longer paths through your ribs. The room cooperates with all this. Rooms like this always do. When the last of the cards is printed, we let the press rest with the handle upright, as if it is listening. I fold a cloth over the ink tin and press the lid with the heel of my hand, sealing the night inside for tomorrow. You wipe the roller in slow circles until it shines lightly, matte and content. We hang the cleaning rag on its little hook where it can dry into its next version of itself. These are small endings, all of them, and they obey the same law. Nothing is hurried. Nothing is hurried. Nothing is postponed. Everything takes the time it needs, and then a little kindness more. I set a fresh tea to steep lemon bomb this round, with a ribbon of honey, and we stand together at the window while it gathers strength. Outside, the square is a quilt. The stones keep their stored warmth. A couple sits on the bench under the plane tree and reads without speaking, turning pages with a drift of paper that sounds like someone smoothing a sheet before bed. You lean your shoulder against the frame and notice that the wood is a degree warmer than the air. The lamp hum is barely there, a thread of sound only audible because nothing shouts. You lift the cup again, the honey curls around the bomb and the heat finds your throat without asking permission. You close your eyes not tightly, not to block anything, only to encourage everything to settle. A quiet, balancing weight arrives behind your sternum. The night, approving, steps a little nearer. When the cards are dry enough to travel, still tender, but ready to rest between sheets of tissue, gather them into small bundles tied with linen string. The string is soft, the kind that remembers how it was made, and it makes a pleasant whisper as you draw it across the paper. Each bundle feels like a palm-sized reassurance, on their faces. The impressions catch the lamp's low light and hold it, the way a shallow bay holds late moon. Bellhollow at night offers a kind company. We lock the door one turn, deliberate, and the lock thanks us with a little click. The street has settled into itself, every sound round it. The baker has left out a tray of unsold rolls with a note that says, "Please, take," and the scent meets us before we see the tray. We each take one and break it open. Steam lifts a soft ghost of wheat and the crumb is warm enough to make your fingertips smile. You eat without hurry because night is generous. We make a few easy deliveries, no rush, only a series of unhurried visits. At the inn, a lamp glows low in the foyer. The keeper's doggled benevolent lifts its head and lowers it again. We leave a bundle on the desk with a tiny card that reads for bedside tables, sweet dreams. At the clinic door, we slide a slim packet inside the letter slot, where it lands with a folded thrum. And you picture nurses finishing their notes, grateful to find a phrase they can tuck next to a cup of water by a lamp. At the library, we wedge an envelope between the handles, addressed to the night librarian who prefers to sort the returns. When the moon's steady company takes the pressure off the hours dot between stops, we walk without purpose except the purpose of walking, your breath, a pendulum, untroubled. The town gives small gifts, the aroma of cedar from stacked kindling, laundry that kept a memory of sunlight even after dark, a faint metallic note from a rain chain that hasn't been busy tonight, the silver scratch of a cricket practicing patience. The cat escorts us for half a block and then decides it has its own route to consider. And that, too, feels orderly. We reach the harbour path because your feet like the way the planks sound underfoot, hollow, wooden syllables that go on saying, home as long as you listen. Boats rest under covers that breathe a little when the breeze considers them. The water does not fuss. It's the sort of tide that tests the edge and then remembers a promise it made to the moon. A buoy ticks at a friendly interval. A rope rubs a cleat with the faintest chord. Everything knows how to continue. We sit for a while on a bench that has welcomed many evenings. The bench is smooth where hands have thanked it. You set the remaining bundle beside you and feel the shape of it through the tissue. The shallow hailstones of letters pressed into paper. You imagine the cards in rooms, later tonight or tomorrow, set near a glass carafe, tucked between two pages, leaned against a vase that still smells of last week's lilacs. The words on them do not demand, they offer. They don't advise, they accompany, knowing this is a blanket across your shoulders. Shall we go home? I ask, and the question is so gentle that it feels like a continuation rather than a change. We stand, strings of the bay unwinding from our ankles, back along the planks, past the crates paid for and waiting, past a coil of rope that resembles a sleeping snail, past the quiet laughter of two dockhands who have learned the trick of telling the same story so slowly it becomes a song. We take the long way, because the long way is sometimes the short way once you measure with the right ruler, past the candle shop whose sign swings with a secret knowledge of wind, past the seamstress who leaves pins in a dish shaped like a tiny boat, past the music teacher's window where a metronome ticks to itself with the dignity of a grandfather. You listen to the metronome from the street, and for a moment you let your breath match it. Inhale, exhale. Pause until the inside of your chest feels as regular as a tide chart. The door to your place opens with a hinge that is happy to be useful. The room meets you the way a friend does, without questions, with a chair that is where you left it and a blanket that holds the day's last warmth. I set the final bundle on the table and untie the string with a slowness that suggests we have learned something tonight and will remember it. We set 2 cards beside the lamp. You run your fingers across. One rest comes like the tide, and the raised valleys greet your skin the way shells greet a shore, simply by being themselves. The kettle is obliging. It always has been. I measure out oat, straw, and a sliver of apple peel, a pairing that tastes like a field and an orchard after rain. The scent climbs politely. When the cups are ready, we stand for a moment, not because standing is required, but because standing allows us to feel the soles of our feet, remembering how to settle. The windows carry a reflection of the room that looks like another, equally kind room that has been waiting in case this one needed a rest. You change into softer clothes. The cotton knows your shoulders and the way your arms prefer to be surprised by sleeves rather than instructed by them. You fold the day and place it on a chair. Nothing dramatic, only a habit that lets tomorrow begin without sorting. In bed, the sheets are a familiar geography, a map that has only pleasant routes. When you slide under, they lift and fall with the same patience as a sail that has accepted that no voyage is necessary tonight. I sit on the edge of the chair by the window, and the lamp dims to a halo that remembers its full brightness but feels no need to prove it. In a voice you know, I read one of the cards, as if we are learning the shape of quiet together. The words are simple because simple is honest. At this hour, your breathing answers without consulting you. We say almost nothing else. The night completes small tasks, schooling a mug, loosening a knot in a thought, putting a bookmark on the page of worry, and closing the cover. Your hands grow heavier and wiser. Your forearms know they can belong to the bed. Your knees, your shins, your feet remembers that gravity is a friendship and not a demand. Even your eyelids, who have done a great deal today, nod to one another and agree to let the room dim itself. Outside, Bellhollow continues to exist without needing to be checked. The boats keep their soft bargains. The plane tree holds its leaves, as if counting them for the sheer, quiet joy of counting. Somewhere, a late tram sighs into a stop and sighs out again, carrying gentle conversations that will end in doorways and blankets. The bell tower waits until morning. The cat, satisfied, arranges itself into the shape of a comma and keeps the sentence of the night from rushing. I set the cup on the table where the coaster waits like an island. I speak in a tone that has no sharp corners, a tone that knows the way to the door of sleep and is content to stand beside it while you walk through. Good night, I say, as if we've been saying it all along. The lamp leans into its small, steady dim, and the room breathes once in the good, unremarkable way of rooms that are allowed to be kind, and then, with no hurry and no announcement, the tide of rest, right on time as always, arrives. It lifts the edges of you, smooths the center, and lays you down, safe on the shore it carries within itself. You are here, and that is plenty. You are sleeping, and that is home.